And we are live. Last week, we started with a surprise guest. If you remember, Jack came on, which is Nick, his son, and was able to talk about his experience at the MIT camp that he went to. And then we kind of did the switcheroo and brought Nick in. Nick is coming, guys. But to get the show started, Boston traffic, craziness. He just got back from one trip. He's got another thing planned. The dude does a million things, a million miles per hour. But he'll be zooming in here in just a minute. But to welcome you guys, my name is Dan C. Bearded. I am the co-host of this show, and I absolutely adore this show. It is a highlight of my Tuesday. I love checking in with the community. I love interacting with one of my greatest friends in the world, Nick, and it's just something that's really fun to be able to talk about what's going on with this company and then not limit it to that. Talk about your guys' interests, get to know the people behind this company. It's a really cool position that I'm in to be able to guide people to learn about this company. And that's as simply put as it gets. Today is just a good old-fashioned community check-in. We want to see how you guys are doing. We want to see what topics you'd like to talk about. We'd like to see what questions you have for Nick, for Jill, for the company, for myself. We're just going to kind of leave it in open air today. And to be honest, some of the time, that's my favorite kind of show. We never, ever worry about having enough to talk about. These hours fly by, and I know you guys are going to come with some topics, some questions, and also some just updates on what's been going on in your life, what's been going on with your beard products, with your family members, with anything going on, guys. We want to be able to talk about that, the good, the bad, the other. This is just a straight up community check-in, and we do know fall is coming. We do know Q4 is coming here, and we got a bunch of cool stuff coming from Dr. Nick's in the future. All the classics are out right now. So just remember, when you're starting to get those friends coming in for No Shave November, have them start right. If somebody's starting a beard journey this fall, I would much rather them start at the top with the highest quality so they have a better chance of enjoying this beard journey. Imagine how many people go to the store and just buy garbage that's silicone after silicone, and they're like, this is taking care of my beard? This is what I need to do? Oh my gosh. So just something to keep in mind, whether it's you have some extra products, whether you get a gift for them, or just simply a recommendation. Companies like Dr. Nick's Amazing Man Stuff can literally make the difference of a beard journey or a forever razor journey. And you and I in the chat know which of those journeys is a little bit more pleasant. So if you guys could, we got Nick just finishing up, popping in here. Drop a comment in the chat. Let's see who's in here hanging out. We got over 20 people already. JB, Leo, Jill, Jim, Banana Go, Mom, a.k.a. Julie. That's Nick's mom. And Jacked Up Jacob. I want to hear about the Buckeye Battle, Jacob. That's one of the check-ins I want to do. Last year, I was a judge at this beard competition in Columbus, Ohio. This year, because of soccer and family things, I was not able to go judge. And I don't even know if they asked me, but I would have not been able to if they asked me. So I want to hear all about that. We got Robert, Amber, Tina, Mike, Christopher, Mr. Firefighter in the house. Awesome. So guys, get your check-ins ready, get your topics, get your questions. You can drop them literally at any time, and I got them ready. All right, everybody. Hey, what's up, Edgar? We are going to bring in the doctor himself. We're going to bring in the man that does it all. We're going to bring in the guy that goes a million miles per hour. And yes, Jill says, hey, Mom, missing you today. And I do have to say, the only way Nick could get even marginally cooler is if he had a British accent. I don't know why, but I was thinking about that this weekend. I'm like, Nick, I feel like he deserves a distinct accent because of his world knowledge and his experiences. And Nick has the most American accent because he's got a little bit of Boston. He's got some of Hawaii. He took the coolest parts of all of America and is the American accent. But for some reason, I visualize Nick with a British accent, and we'll practice maybe once in a while here. So if and a monocle, oh my gosh, yes, yes. And on that note, we can bring in the monocle man himself. Please help me welcome my friend and the co-owner, the creator of Dr. Nick's Amazing Man Stuff, Mr. Monocle Nick himself. Nick, thoughts on the monocle?
So, not super against the monocle.
Ooh, I did not know where you're going to go with that. I thought you were saying not super into it. Okay.
Yeah, no, I've always been a little bummed out that I was born without an accent. You know, it's just so sad. Some people, like you say, they look like they should have one. I feel like I should have one, but I don't.
Dude, Maddox's soccer coach and Jack's, they have the same coach this year. He's a world-class coach. He's from England. So he's getting taught by like a world-class English coach, which is great, right? The experience, the knowledge, and all that. The flair he adds to soccer practice and soccer yelling at refs with a British accent when he says,
it's more authoritative.
Oh, it's so good. You demand to listen when he says, go get a break. They don't say syllables. Or they don't say vowels. It's all what.
It kind of just like blurs through them.
Yeah, I love it. I'm so jealous. It's like an efficient way of speaking. And then when they throw in their analogies and the slang, it's magical. It's magical what somebody with a British accent can weave together.
That's a guy with a British accent is the one that I got one of my favorite sayings from. And I think it stuck because of his accent, not so much of what it is. And he's like, "Oh, mate, you're reaching around your ass to hit your elbow there." And he's like, I was like, well, no, he was Australian. That's what he was. He was this guy that I worked with. See, it's in my head. I thought British, but I like remember it so clearly. It just comes out in his voice. But
I mean,
he
it's
was
just
this
British
database
criminals.
admin guy I worked with for a while, and he was hilarious. Like the Australian accent mixed with funny sayings thing. I mean, I could never hold a straight face around that guy.
You can't. So true story. This was maybe yesterday or the day before. Out of nowhere in the car, you guys know kids. Maddox goes, "How do you think the Australian accent started?" I was like, "That's a great question." He was like, "Do you think it was just one guy that went there and was like, I'm going to be real silly, and everyone else really liked it and they went along with it?" It's like, dude, it might be. I said, I do know that Australia was a penal colony of the British. They essentially ran out of space for their prisoners. They're like, we don't have any more room for you. Boom. They threw them on this super deadly, hot, dangerous island. And we're like, good luck. And then they ended up being like some of the happiest, like thriving people in the world from their prison colony.
And total badasses for the most part. Do you remember some of my favorite commercials in the world? Do you remember those old like 90s Foster's beer commercials?
Foster's,
where they were like, blah, blah,
Australian
blah.
for beer.
Yeah, Foster's, Australian for beer. My favorite one ever. Like this guy's standing there with his dog, and all of a sudden you see this shadow coming down, and he gets crushed by this big boulder like Wile E. Coyote. And his dog's fine. The dog was sitting there. The dog was uninjured. And so this big old boulder comes and thunk lands on the ground. And you see his hand sticking out with the Foster's in his hand still. And you hear, ow. And then it's like, sissy.
That's so good. And that, man, you're bringing up, again, timely stuff. I was talking with Sam this weekend about this. When we watch movies as humans, right? So many of us, a vast majority of us, have a much more visceral reaction to any kind of harm to animals than as compared to humans, right?
100%.
Like, I Am Legend, great movie, but a dog got screeching because they went in and went to a zombie. You didn't even see anything. I'm still probably 20 years later traumatized of that dog yelp. And it's like, there were probably 300 people that were just viciously killed in that movie by getting torn apart by zombies.
They were all there by choice.
Yeah. Didn't even register, but the dog, like in that movie, you're like, the boulder fell on the dog. I'm like, this is a horrible commercial. Oh, is the human? Okay, no worries. You're good.
Yeah, down to the point where, like, imagine, we couldn't do it anymore, but there was like that old Sports Center commercial where like the firemen standing outside the building and it's like burning, and the lady's up top and she's like, save my baby. And she like throws the baby down and the guy like catches it and then like raises a knee and spikes the baby on the ground. And it's like, got sports on the brain, get Sports Center. And I was like, holy crap. Like,
right. But it sticks. It's memorable.
You couldn't have done that even then if it was a cat.
Right.
Not a chance.
Right. No chance. Yeah. No. It's like, yeah, it's like adult humans, kids, babies, and then any animal. Like any animal is priority.
Yeah. Like one of my favorite movies is American Psycho, but that scene where he kills the homeless guy's dog is like, here we go. He did not put that up, and I did not see that before I said it. So like literally, it's one of my favorite movies. I watched it all the time for background noise. Patrick Bateman's just one of my favorite I promise I'm not going to return any videotapes after this stream. And and there's Jill. I hate that scene.
Yep. Yep. No, yeah, it is wild. And yeah, accents and dialects have always interested in me.
Me
Like,
too.
even a small country like Ireland, very distinct accents at the different locations of Ireland, to the point where sometimes they can't even communicate and understand each other, but it's still the same language, you know? And
Oh yeah.
you think
It's
about
like the
like,
regional dialect there is
yes,
so like such a departure from the main dialect though. You know
right.
what I mean? Like that one's like a different, it's like you said, it's like a different language, like a different country.
So true. So true. And then you think about the US, and we can probably break each one down on like settlements and colonies from when we were colonized. And like, why does the Boston have the wicked smart accent? Why does the South have the draw? Why does the Midwest say funny things like milk and just different, like it's not even like slang. We just say things actually different. And then, yeah, G Square said, like, what is the American accent? Like, it's like,
There isn't
you,
one.
yeah, I mean, you sound American to me. Like, you sound like, no, like straight up like American. I wouldn't, sometimes your Boston comes out, but in most cases, it wouldn't be like, oh, he's got the Southern draw, maybe a little California-esque, but California is kind of the normal accent. It's just interesting.
I don't know. I think the American accent is a myth. I don't think there is one. Like you said,
I'm,
it's like it's so just like Ireland. Like we're so diverse in like,
yeah,
the difference between like an East Coast accent and a West Coast accent versus like Southeast is so different. Like, how could you call all four of those the same name? How could you
I
say like
know.
that's an American accent? You're like, oh, you're from the South in America. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, you're from the Northeast in America,
Even in Michigan, we have two very distinct accents. You
Really?
have, oh my gosh, you have, let me see who can get it. Who knows in Michigan the two different distinct accents? You have the two different distinct. And Amber brings up a good point, right? We talk about Europe and we can say the German accent versus the French accent versus the Spain versus Ireland. Very true. When we look at the United States, we're kind of the same size, if not much, much, much bigger than Europe. So that's a very good point, Amber. Very
Well,
good
it's a
point.
really good point. And to her point, who knows? Maybe that problem will be solved soon and we'll actually be divided up into about 3 countries here pretty soon. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, right. That would be the check-in to talk about here. But does anybody know? Anybody know the Michigan accents? Because when you discover it, it's like what? So I
Hmm.
don't see anybody getting it yet. So essentially, the accent is broken down by the Lower Peninsula and the Upper
Is
Peninsula.
it soda and pop?
No, so everybody's pop in the Midwest. We don't say soda up here. It's just, yeah, we say pop. But in the Upper Peninsula, we call it a Youper, right? UP, right? The Youper. And
Upper
so,
Peninsula, Uper.
yeah, so you're a Youper.
Cheeky.
Yes, and they have a very Canadian-esque accent, and it's a lot of there's definitely the A's. There's definitely a, but it's Minnesota. You do this like little roll off at the end. We can go to the store, go to Minnesota. What do you think we're talking about? And it's this
Okay.
weird kind of spin on it, and then it's blended with Canadian. It's like a little bit of like French influence on it as well.
So how would you say go to the store?
Hey, let's go to the store.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
I
like
would
go to
like
the
to go.
store in Minnesota.
I would like to go to the store in Minnesota, and they would say, "I
Okay.
want to go to the store in Minnesota."
So further south down in your part, it's a more deliberate
Yes,
way of speech, and it's more staccato as
yes.
opposed to the draw like the Canadians have.
Yeah, they put a little like roll on it,
Yeah.
and we in the lower peninsula of the state, we Dan now knows most. Yeah, the lower part of the state, we say we drop syllables. So, for example, a city that has our favorite Mexican restaurant is Fenton. Okay, Fenton, Fenton, but nobody here says Fenton. We say Fenton. We just we just put it as one thing, not Fenton, Fenton.
Hmm.
And I mean, that's across the board on everything that we say. And the Detroit accent is there. Yeah, definitely. There is a its own world in Detroit. That one's different too, because I mean, you're bordering Canada. That's a huge part. Windsor is the big like kind of loop into Michigan. You also have some other historical backgrounds, and Nick, you'll appreciate this one. When I was in New Haven, I went out to dinner with Walter and Erica, and we got pizza. And on the menu, the actual menu, not slang, it said pizza with MOZZ. And I was like, genuinely did not know what that was referring to. I did not know what that was referring to. And it was the mozzarella. And I didn't know what I'm probably not even saying it right. How would you say that, the slang one?
Moz?
Moz?
Yeah, I'd say Moz.
Walter, help me out. What did you guys say? Because it moots.
Spell it phonetically.
Yeah, I feel like it was moots, but they were like flabbergasted that we
Was it Mott's?
I think it might have been Mott's.
Because people say mozzarella, like no one says mozzarella unless you're like trying to do that thing where like you have a sentence and you say the whole thing in your normal accent, except the foreign word you say in its native accent, which by the way, if you do that, you should stop. It's very
yeah, please.
Yeah, like that's one of those things where I'm not even going to give you any like, sometimes it's like, no, just don't do it. No one likes that.
Right.
There's people say mozzarella, so I'd say Mott's, like MOTZ.
Right. All right. What are things that are authentic to say, but if you try and you don't speak like that, you just come off as a jerk? Like I'll give you an example. We enjoy soccer. One of the biggest soccer cities in the world is in Spain. I call it Barcelona.
Oh dear God. This is the one to like do it.
Now, if you want to be authentic and you want to sound absolutely ridiculous as American, you say Barcelona. You put this like lisp on it.
Yeah, just like curl your tongue and then put it to the back of your throat. It's a Barcelona.
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 Like that one, you can't do. No, you're not going to be authentic. Another one. We wear Adidas. I have Adidas shoes. It's not here, Adidas.
No, it is not.
You're a smart aleck. You're a know-it-all. You're like,
when in Rome. And if you don't know Spanish, do not pronunciate the words on a Spanish menu to your, to your Mexican native Spanish-speaking waiter is not impressed when you say a quesadilla, or like when you say I don't know. I guess there's not too many there. It's the Italian ones that really get you. It's like, can I have that with extra mozzarella? And it's like all of a sudden you're like this chef like in a cartoon with like the big hat and like, oh.
And then they do this with it too, mozzarella. Like, no, now you're insulting.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, can I get that on the fettuccine? And it's like, now it just sounds like you're like making fun of people. Like it doesn't even sound like you're trying to be nice. It just sounds off-putting.
Ken is so right. I was never able to like articulate what the big difference with the Yoopers are. He's so right. As you go north, the letter O gets bigger. So we say Minnesota, they say Minnesota. They draw out the O. Go to the store.
Got it.
Like,
so if like
almost
the rest
a little
of your
Boston like too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's almost like if each syllable is like a quarter note, you got like a half note, on an O. Just you move it out a little bit.
It's so interesting. And you learn this by assimilation, by osmosis. Like you don't actually try to, you're just around it so much. So Maddox had a different coach this summer. Sam at one of the games goes, "Hey, where's Coach Adam from?" And she's like, it's British, but maybe it's Scottish. Maybe it's this. They said Livonia, Michigan, just a random city in Michigan. But he's been around such high-level soccer for so long in his life, which is heavily influenced by the British. He's picked up a British accent living in Michigan his entire 35 years of existence.
That's really funny, man. Like,
isn't that interesting?
I have a bad head because I kind of do have it, like you said, a nomadic accent. As some people have said, it's like kind of a mix of everything. And once in a while, you'll be like, "Was that you?" Oh, never mind. He doesn't have an accent.
Whoa, Leo just blew my mind. Some accents are thought to be climate related, with speakers' muscles trying to minimize cold air. Wow. The way you speak, the way you actually move your mouth based on elements around you could impact it.
Elevation.
Ooh,
potentially.
Oxygen. Wow.
Well, I mean, I guess in Australia, I mean, it's too hot to tie your shoes down there. So I mean, like if you're sitting there and you're in Perth, Maybe it is want to get rid of some lettuce. You know what I mean? Like it's just too much damn work to sit there and pronunciate, or I guess that would be enunciate all of them. Mom, I
Yeah.
know you were typing that as I was saying it, so just don't. I saved you.
Yeah.
Huh.
And this is interesting too. Christopher's right. Other countries can tell when you're an American,
Mm-hmm.
regardless if it's Southern Boston or Midwest, kind of despite the variance. That's very true. Kind of like the British. Yeah. Because I guess even with Ireland, right, there's pretty much 4 distinct dialects in Ireland based on the directions. You and I would be able to tell if any of them spoke. We'd say, oh, you're Irish.
Yeah, it'd be like, oh, you're from Cork. Oh, you're from this. You're from Dublin.
Yeah. You
Interesting.
betcha. You betcha. Yeah, there's a lot of you betchas up
That's
north
why I
too.
travel internationally with a Canadian hockey jersey on.
Ooh.
Because no one likes Americans out there. So
Yeah.
until they get to know you. And once they do that, they'll realize you don't have a Canadian accent. And then you just say you're into hockey. So you're not lying and you're not really misrepresenting yourself. You're just protecting yourself from misperceptions on first. It's
I
the
like
thing.
that. The same theory would be like wearing a Switzerland like jersey. Nobody messes with Switzerland. No one has a problem with Switzerland. Like you're neutral. You're good.
If you're mad at Switzerland for any reason, that just makes you an asshole. That doesn't mean anything's wrong with
Right.
Switzerland.
When the world wars entirely engulfed Europe except for Switzerland, yeah, they're doing something right. AK mountains and banks. Yes.
Yeah, mountains and banks, man. That's
They've
it.
Got you covered. And your mom says, in Hawaii, a statement or sentence usually ended with a question mark sound. Oh, do they tail off at the end of it towards the question?
Yeah, but it's a very like intentional and oftentimes they'll even end a sentence with yeah and then question mark. So they'll be like, "Are you going to the store later?" Yeah. And it's like yeah. And it's like, so instead of saying like right or like
that's Canadian with the A. They
it's
always
like, hey, those are new
with,
shoes, yeah. And it's like, oh brother, you go to the store and get one spam musubi, I can have one, yeah. And it's like
interesting. Jamaicans do that as well. Interesting. Now, I wonder what, oh my gosh, this is a deep rabbit hole, but it's so fun to think about. Moots. Yeah, okay. Moots is what they call it there.
Okay, so mots, moots. All right, that's fine. Just put the other, if you're going to say moots, why not spell it with 1 O and 2 Z's to deliberately make you sound like you don't know what you're saying?
Yeah.
Perfect.
As John Wade would say, por favor, as in do me a favor would be in English. Okay. Yeah. Yep. All right. Some check-ins here, you guys. And then, yeah, Garrett says, Minnesota. It is. That's exactly. Don't you know? Yes. Don't you know? That's a good.
Oh, don't you know? Yeah. Oh, and coffee and bars. Well, I mean, if you're going to go to an event and you're going to have some kind of a raffle, I mean, you got to have caffeine bars, right?
And get the cab.
Well, you got to get the cap and you got to get the caffeine bars. I mean, what are people going to do? To stand around looking at each other? Unless they're having caffeine bars.
Dude, that's a spot on Adam Sandler. That was good. I don't know if you've ever tried Adam Sandler, but that was it. I just listened to a full podcast of his too. That was it.
As long as it wasn't that Whitey voice from that animated movie he did about Hanukkah.
Oh yeah. He's back doing stand-up and he's very, very like dirty, raw, like
good.
Yeah, I know. I love
and
it.
Soon he's only going to be allowed in Joe Rogan's comedy club in Austin.
Right. He just did Rogan's podcast. So yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Okay, some check-ins here. Our buddy Jacob, Mr. Jacked Up, said the Buckeye beard battle was awesome. Didn't place in my category. That's not what it was about. You good. But Def had a blast raising money for charity. Got to meet some amazing people in the person, the bearded Chief Matt from Florida Boys. Very cool. Very, very cool. All right, and guys, again, if you have any other check-ins, good, bad, other, let us know. Walter is packaging a positive sandwich here where he says, hey, I got laid off, but the good news is I get to watch this show now.
Hey. See, it's just one of those things. Everything happens for a reason,
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Nope.
When one door closes, another one opens, though. Don't sit there being bummed about that, man. Keep your eyes open.
Yeah, Walter and I have talked through it pretty heavily. He's good. We know it's going to be the next chapter. But he says, Dan, do New England people like me and Joe have specific accents we may... Oh! What? Do you and Joe have specific accents you don't... Yes! You have the New England accent, which is different than the Boston accent. But there's a Venn diagram of similarities. They do meet in the middle.
They do.
And the thing I'm most jealous about the New England and Boston accents are the cool slang that you guys can get away with. Like wicked, right? I can't bust that out without being a joke. I can't say like, oh man, the wicked smart. Like I can't do that. And it's so cool.
You can't say wicked cool. You'd be like, oh, that's wicked cool.
No.
Like don't combine it with another Bostonism. Just use it on its own.
Like, man, that's so wicked cool. No, like
Dude, it's like, that's wicked cool.
No one here does that. Or my favorite one, most of the people in the chat know my favorite Boston slang that I've stolen, aces. Like, oh, that's aces. Oh, yeah, he's aces.
There's another one, if you like aces, speaking of, it's not card game reference, but it's darts reference. So like right down at the bottom of a dartboard, you got the 19 over there. And if you're sucking that night, you just hit nothing but 3s and 2s. And if someone asks you how you're doing today, you're like, 3s and 2s, dude.
And people get it?
Oh, yeah.
See, I would not have known. I would have not got that reference.
Especially like, even if no one's going to get that outside of here, I don't know if everyone in Massachusetts or Boston would get it, maybe like 25%. Walk into an Irish bar. Oh, mate, how you doing? 3s and 2s, boys. Oh, sit down, have a pint. It's like, oh, okay, I got it.
I've never heard that in my life. I love it. 3s and 2s?
Yeah. And you got to follow it up with boys. If you're speaking to a group full of men, that's what you got to put that in there, or else you just don't get you don't get the respect that you were hoping for.
Yeah, the boys, that can be dropped pretty internationally. I think that's pretty accepted.
Yeah.
And Leo says, native speakers who speak flawless English replace the conjunction but with the Spanish pero. None of them have ever been able to explain why. I don't think they even notice it. Give me an example here.
I was gonna go to the store, pero, but pero, no gas in the car,
Whoa. I won't even know how to react to that.
So I've heard someone say that, but they were like Spain Spanish, not South America, Mexico Spanish.
And then Leo's right here. He says, I know people whose parents have a thick accent, yet their children don't hear it at all. That's just so, and this actually is like the overarching human nature. We as humans, based on evolution and survival, we are only made to register change. And people don't realize it. But we become we compartmentalize almost everything in our day-to-day life just simply to survive that we don't realize. Like right now, I'm looking at the camera so I can make eye contact with you guys. I see a whole heck of a lot of things around me, but not really. I don't actually notice anything, even though it's here. Like I can say, okay, I have this here, I have that there. But if something were to just run across and streak, I would notice it immediately because it's a change.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same with smell, right? Smokers, if a smoker walked into my room right now, and they smoked 3 hours ago, people still smoke cigarettes? Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, weird.
They have no smell. They have no concept that they smell like cigarette smoke.
No.
Because you become blind to it. Hearing is the same. For Walter to ask if him and Joe have an accent, that's wild to me because they have like a very distinct accent. And so it's just so interesting how we just become normal to it. It just becomes like, even with your own parents, interesting.
It is weird. I know a lot of New England people so there's two things. I know a lot of people that don't know they have accents, or they have asked the question, well, do I have an accent? Like, I don't have that strong of an accent, do I? And I'm like, what? I didn't even know what your last name was for the first year I knew you because the way you pronounce it made no sense to me. And then if you go to Maine, Mainers have a totally different accent. Again, very much like
Canada,
Canadian influence there. It's obvious, but they'll tell you that you have an accent. So first of all, Mainers never do anything wrong. Everything started in Maine. Everything that people have done that's successful was an invention of someone who lived in Maine. 95 doesn't start in Florida. It ends in Florida because it starts in Maine.
Yep.
Okay. And they'll tell you like, you're like, oh man, like you definitely got that Mainer accent, huh? And they're like, huh? They're like, you have an accent. I don't have an accent.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah. We did Acadia and spent over a week in Maine, and we definitely got it. And it was regional too, right? Portland was very different than Bar Harbor, very different than the other areas. So
they're more civilized.
Yeah. And JB said,
walking around with bones in their stretched out ears and stuff. It's like, you know, you got, it's like, it is. It's like Mainers are an interesting bunch of people. I love it. Like, yup has got to be my favorite Mainerism. It's like
Ooh.
AHYUUP, like, yup.
And that's
And
like
it's like,
acknowledging, like, yes.
yeah, it is. It's like a yep, yeah, or, but it's also kind of like, you can use it like, oh, so did you stop and get breakfast on the way to the office? Yeah. And then, you know, you'll get that, but then you'll also get like the sarcastic ones where it's like, are those blah blah blahs you're wearing? It's like, yeah. And so you kind of like draw it out to be a jerk, and then you kind of like make it short to be confirmational.
Interesting. I'm a yep guy. I've realized that I'm not as much a yes guy. I'm a yep, and I'd kind of pop it, but that's like my universal type response.
Me too.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. And Leo says, when no smoking became a thing at bars and restaurants, I remember that vividly.
Same.
Vividly, that was in the like 2000s because I remember first turning 21 stuff, going to bars. I despised going to the bar because I'd wake up, my pillow would smell like smoke, my hair would smell like smoke, my clothes would smell like smoke. It just was just a horrible feeling. But he said, became a thing for bars and restaurants. They were concerned they'd lose business, but they saved money on cleaning, replacing fabrics. Dude, places had to make entire ventilation systems.
Yeah, the smoke eaters.
Yep.
The big things on the ceiling.
Yep. And so I
They still have them down in Florida.
Oh, yeah, going to a Waffle House when you're like traveling down to Florida, and you're like, what? Huh?
Yeah.
What? You're smoking in the booth next to me?
It's like
while I'm trying
smoking
to
or
eat?
non-smoking. Be like, outside in my car. I don't know. Does that work?
You ever watch a show like Mad Men and you see like the times back then, like the doctors smoking a cigarette when they're about to do like a delivery, or the flight attendants like going in, taking shots and then smoking? Like, it's like, whoa, interesting.
Yeah,
All right. And we got,
I always watch those, and I'm like, where Jack sees something on TV, he's like, "You could smoke on airplanes." I'm like, "You could smoke everywhere, dude." Like, I used to live next to this little like super backwoods grocery store in Florida, and it was just, I don't know what it was about it. It's where I used to shop when I was like super broke, when I was like, you know, late teens, early 20, late teens, I guess. And so I went back there when I went down to visit one point. This was like 2017, I guess. And they still have the ashtrays in the shopping carts, like the little, like where you have like the little, you got like your kid thing right there. And right next to the kid, in case he wants to smoke, is like a little ashtray and like a little divot and like a little place to hold it. And I'm like, holy crap. Like, just blast from the past, man. Imagine walking around a grocery store, like looking at chicken, and someone's like ripping a butt right next to you.
man, smoking a Lucy. And
dude,
in the car, and you got the little push lighters. Remember that? All of us burned our thumbs on those at some point. As a kid, you had to test that little coil out. You had to.
My brother got me with one, like in his first car. Like, I'm like, what's that do? He's like, push it. And I was like, okay. So I like pushed it in. We're going there a minute. He's like, that's what it does. It hits me in the arm with it. Like, totally bubbled up the skin. I think I still have a scar from under my tattoo over here.
I bet. Yeah. Those
Just so everyone knows, whenever I make reference to my brother, my middle brother Brandon, my oldest brother Steve, him and I are really close. And but I always equate my growing up with my brother Brandon, like at the age he was and the age I was. Picture the older brother from the Goonies, but only when he was not nice to the rest of the kids, like before he turned the corner. I basically had like the older brother from the Goonies. Like, he's sitting there with like his little spring workout thing. It's like, get out of here, dillweed. And it's like, it was like Buzz.
Yeah.
Mixed with the guy from the Goonies, mixed with like the older brother from Weird Science. That was it.
All right. And G Squared said, check-in. Just finished wiring up a DC electric motor and controller, and I'm replacing the gas engine with it on his McLean reel mower. Excited for no more gas.
Dude, it is so funny you mention that. First of all, awesome.
Right.
Love it. You know what the best part about that is that DC electric motor has no, and this is, okay, people are going to be like, of course it has moving parts. The DC motor has no field serviceable or replaceable moving parts. It's the best part about electric motors. It will, the armatures will either attract and work, or they will not. I mean, and there is obviously some internal wiring and some things you can do to mess with them. But I just turned, so as you guys know, G Squared, I talked to you guys about this a few weeks ago, about the electric satellite guided automated mower that I've been using in my yard. And
Oh
so
yeah.
there I am. I'm sitting there in the garage a few weekends ago. Walter is his name. Has been doing a great job, but he can't do edging. He can't do weed whacking. He can't get the stuff out of the cracks in the driveway. So that's still me, right? Walter and I make a pretty good team, I thought. So I'm sitting there in the garage and I'm messing with my 4-stroke weed eater, just like I have to do every season because it never works, even with the fuel stabilizers and the rubber conditioners and all the crap you get, either a cracked fuel line, you get a clogged carburetor. It's always something. And so I'm sitting there and I start looking around online. And I noticed that Milwaukee makes an electric, trimmer that uses the same batteries that I've been thinking about switching to anyway for a lot of my cordless tools.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm like, I love the idea, but like, I'm going to have to do the front and then go in the garage and charge these damn batteries. And then I'm going to have to go and put them back in and then go do the backyard. So I figured, what the hell? I'll try it. If I don't like it, I'll return it, right? What's the risk? So I did. It is the best damn weed eater, string trimmer, whatever the hell you want to call it, that I have ever used in my life, electric or gas.
And the battery is like the one that you clip into like drills.
Yeah. So I got the 12S batteries, and it's the part of the fuel line from Milwaukee, which is all brushless, which again is lower maintenance. And dude, this thing, it's got 2 speeds. It's got rabbit and turtle. Okay. And you put that bad boy on rabbit, I'll tell you what, man, you better hold on, because that thing winds up like there's no wind up time like there is with gas. Like there's no and it's on. And it goes through stuff I have never even thought about going through with a string trimmer before. And get this, we got about an acre, and I did the front yard, the driveway, around all the front flower beds, around the whole house, then the whole backyard, both fences, and out back next to my shed. And I still had 75% battery.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
So
yeah, we've gotten like new vacuum cleaners and a couple other things, and they all use that same pretty much interchangeable battery. And so we have like 6 of them around, just different chargers, and pop them on. It's like almost satisfying to plug those in too.
Oh, hell yeah. It sounds like you're putting in a magazine to a Glock. Things
they like fit real nice. Perfectly. And so
yeah, if only you could rack the chamber on your vacuum afterwards. It's like
right.
It's like, oh, sorry.
That's gonna, I feel like that's gonna happen. They're gonna tap into that like satisfactory feeling, and just that makes it
the
fun.
Tactile feedback of about to blow a hole in something. Bring that into chores and vacuuming. It's gonna make
like
everyone
your pen addiction, your expensive pens. It's that the exact same reason. That's so funny. I still gotta try one of those. G Squared says, have you seen the rotary scissors? It replaces the string head and would work 100% with yours.
Yeah. So the rotary scissors are really, really cool. And it's basically like a lot of them have pivots to them. So like the blades that are coming off the side, they kind of got a little bit of a swing. So the rotary scissors, that same kind of idea is about what it uses on the automated lawnmower. And what's cool about these is one disc turns on some of them and the other one doesn't. So things go in between the teeth as one part's turning and the other part isn't. So what people really like about them is you can get underneath stuff without having to worry about damaging what you're going underneath, because the top doesn't spin. The bottom.
Yeah. It's like a guide almost.
It is, because you can literally like around a hot tub, underneath like a stone wall, underneath like the soffit or the opposite of a soffit on your house, going around underneath shingles. Yeah, they're pretty cool.
Interesting. Circular hedge trimmer. Yeah, that checks out. And G Squared said he wired his new motor to use his existing Ryobi batteries and decided to wire two parallel.
Dude, G Squared, what are you doing this weekend, dude? Like, can we hang out? Like, this is, I mean, I want to like, let's go make things do things they're not supposed to do because we want to save money and have fun.
Yeah, no doubt. And G Squared says, I want one of those so bad. The cut is super clean, so you won't tear things up.
Okay.
Yeah, that checks out.
And I want to see if the head on mine's compatible.
Yeah, that would be fun. If so, we will make content on it just for you, G Squared. That would be fun content, actually.
Oh, damn right.
Yeah, really fun. And Banana Go says he just had to replace the Banana Go. Oh, man. With a Lexus GX 470. Ashtrays in the back seat doors, more ashtrays than outlets.
Oh, dude, that's awesome, because isn't that isn't that the Lexus offshoot from what they did with the European Toyota Land Cruiser? If I'm not mistaken, that Lexus is the offshoot from that, which is awesome.
Interesting. Let's see.
Because if it's the European version of it, that's why it's got so many damn ashtrays.
Oh, right. Because it's still, it's much more prominent for a smoking culture over there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And see how people got them lifted up? Like if you drive around Iceland, that's all you see is either Land Cruisers or like old Lexus GXs. And it's like everyone's got them up on like 33 super swampers and they're like all jacked up. It's awesome.
It reminds me of my 4Runner.
Yeah, well, yeah, it should. The Land Cruiser was basically the larger version of the 4Runner.
Interesting. Okay.
And if
Interesting.
any of you are enthusiasts, I don't want to get any grief for saying that. Okay, like if you're talking to someone that knows that not as much as you do about Toyotas, like me, right? I'm pretty sure.
I don't know. I know very little.
By saying Land Cruisers was the large version of it was their larger offering at the same time as the 4Runner.
Interesting. Is it a parent company situation?
Yeah, same as like
Kia and Hyundai.
What's that?
Kia and Hyundai.
No, like Lexus is to Toyota, like Cadillac is to Chevy.
Okay, GM. Okay.
Yep. Or
Okay.
like
Chevy
and
GMC. Okay.
Yeah, same kind of thing.
I didn't know that. Interesting. All right. See, I always learn something. There. Okay. I like that. And guys, anybody else out there, if you have any other life updates, please drop them in the chat. Nick, I don't even know if I've told you this yet, but we have
we tell each other everything. Why don't I know about this?
I know. I tell him everything, guys. But what do you know? We got a new quasi pet at home.
No. But
okay.
Using the word quasi pet.
Yes.
I'm almost thinking it must be something in the reptile family. Or
let me introduce you to my friend Henry. And some of the people, I know Erica knows Henry and a couple others out there. This is our sandhill crane that comes by every single morning and hangs out with us. And he lets us pet him. He lets us feed him. He wants to come in the house very, very, very badly, but we've not let him in yet. But he hangs out for hours and hours and literally will sit there. He'll let us pet. Let me show you real quick here once I can get to it. Yeah, here's Mr. Henry. This is just this morning. Literally, Violet goes, Henry's here. And I was like, huh? And this is our deck on the back deck. And these are sandhill cranes. Yes, they're known as the ribeye of the sky. No, we're not going to eat them. And they are over 2 million years old, unchanged. Like this was their form 2 million years ago. He like literally when we open it, he comes to us to come hang out. Violet right there, loving him. And then you'll see in a second, she finally gets to like pet him and she feeds him this whole time.
That's so cool.
It's unbelievably cool. So here's Violet feeding him and just holds it. I mean, he just comes right up to the door. He'll stay for hours if we give him attention and we hang out and just eats it. And then she right here, look at that. Just petting right along his back, petting his neck. You can pet his head. He's never like nipped at us or anything. He's just
never pecked at you.
No. And if we're not out there, he'll like start like barking at us. He'll come to the window and be like, hey guys, I'm home. Like, what's going on?
That is hilarious, dude. So like, although they are, in most places illegal to like own them, I've read something, it was a while back and I don't remember why the hell I read it. It was someone talking about in their state, it was legal to own them as long as you owned it with a parent. So if you had the parent and then the parent had the other one, you had them together, you were allowed to have them. And parent dies off, you can keep the little one.
Yeah,
it's weird. It's part of the migratory bird pact or whatever the hell it's called.
And I think he's a bachelor. We have other families that are around, but he's never been with anybody.
And they mate for life, right?
Yeah. And Randy says, have you ever seen a flock? Yes. Sam and I were driving home from a date one night. This was years ago. Never forget it. Quite literally, thousands and thousands of them are flying over us naturally. If you guys don't know, my favorite animals are birds, like peregrine falcon, hawk, like my favorite thing, sandhill cranes I'm obsessed with. Flies over, and then I follow it. They go to this massive like retention pond, and they all just land on this pond. It was majestic. It was unbelievable. And my favorite thing with the sandhill cranes is their beaks have like a hole in it. So when they turn to the side, you can see straight through their beak.
Imagine being like on a little bass fishing boat in that pond when that 1,000 flock of cranes just descended on you. It'd be like Armageddon. I'd be like, all right, my time's up. Like, it's fine.
It's
fine. This is how I die. Like
And
Tippy Hedren and
cranes-
the birds.
Yeah. So for this question, are they normally pretty mellow? Well, for fish, no, they're like ruthless killers. People don't realize that they are like they'll eat ducks, they'll eat fish, they'll eat frogs, they'll eat all sorts of things.
Rabbits.
Yeah, they'll eat rabbits. But I don't know how they are normally with people. This is our limited interaction. So I don't know.
They can be total jerks, just like geese.
Really?
But the thing I was reading a while back, and again, the reason it struck a memory is I don't know why the hell I was reading about this guy. He had a sandhill crane as a pet, and he said that his sandhill crane was the best dog he ever owned.
See, that's how he acts.
So people say that they literally, when you have them domesticated as animals, they are very similar to dogs. They'll lay their head, like their neck will go limp. Like they can make that long neck of theirs, they can make it go all the way limp. And like this guy said that he'd come up to him and the bird would just drape its like neck over his leg and get scratches under its beak. And
yeah, he lets us pet him. If he's off somewhere, we open the door, he comes right up to it. He'll like run up to us and he leaves. We're like, bye, Henry.
That's awesome.
And so, yeah, that's our new pet. And our cats just sit there and watch him. They're like, let me get a hold of him.
They're like, I can't tell if you are the food or if I'm the food in this relationship, but
yeah,
I want to sit here and think about it for a while.
In bald eagles, so again, you guys are amazing with your timing as always. Sam and I were just talking about this weekend. I've lived in my town now since I was 14. So since I was 14, so over 20 years now. Before this last 12 months, I saw one bald eagle in 20 years. In the last 12 months, we've seen at least 20. Like not even like just in my town, but like the peripheral cities that are 15 minutes this way, 30 minutes that way. We see them all over the place, and I don't know the reason why we're seeing so many more of them.
Well, I have a question on that.
Okay.
Do you think that there are actually situationally, anecdotally, more bald eagles than there were before? Or do you think since seeing one, your brain now knows how to recognize them in person and therefore sees the ones that have been there this whole time?
All right. Pause here, please.
Because that seems like an interesting little paradox.
Yeah. Pause for me on this one. Okay. So I'm going to give you guys a peek behind the a peek behind the scenes here. So here is a video that is scheduled for, I believe, tomorrow. It's in this next week. And the title of it is More Younger Significant Beards or Frequency Illusion.
Frequency illusion. That's the word I was looking for.
It's exactly what you're talking about. And of course, it's literally scheduled for, let me see here. It is scheduled for August 28th at 8 a.m.
Hit me with that one again.
What's that?
Frequency illusion.
Frequency illusion. Yeah. And
so there's going to be two things that consume my time when I have idle time on my phone for the next week. And I think it's going to be diving into the studies of frequency illusions and mental contagions. I think the two of those things are going to be kind of like where my brain goes for the next week, because I've been kind of reading about them. Yeah. And it's just, you know what it is it's like interesting because like whenever you think about something and you're like, if anybody else has looked into this, and turns out there's like a whole degree and like medical school background to it, and you're like, oh,
right, there's a whole niche community.
Oh yeah. Again, it's just cool once in a while to be like, I wonder what the heck blah 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 is, and then you're like, oh, got it. There's people with multiple commas after the ends of their names that have looked into this a lot.
Yep. And so two parts here. The exact reason why I made that video is because of what Tina might say in here. As you guys know, you're some of the only people who know. Like I said, I don't like to say things, but we got a 4Runner. Love it. I didn't know what a 4Runner was a year ago. I can admit that. Not a car guy. Didn't really care. I'm obsessed with it. It's so fun to drive. It's cool to be a part of like a niche community of cars that are so passionate. Like I'll go get food. Guy knocked on my window yesterday and goes, "Hey man, nice car." I said, "Thanks." And he pointed over to his that was all tricked out. I was like, "Nice
Hell
car,
yeah.
man."
Well, and you
And
guys like camping too. Like I imagine you're gonna end up with like the
the
tent
tent.
setup that goes on the
Yeah.
roof rack and pops over the back. So you got like the inside of your tailgate available inside your tent.
Yeah, I think Sam and I for sure could do something like that.
Hell yeah.
But since getting a Forerunner, it's all I see. I see them
Mhm.
everywhere. They're all over. On my road that I go through to drop the boys off to school, there's a Forerunner. They're everywhere. That's frequency illusion.
It is.
On the Bald Eagle one,
What do you think it is?
I do not think it's frequency illusion. I'm with Chris here. I'm obsessed with birds of prey, right? I know where the peregrine falcons are near you. Literally, I know where peregrine falcons are near Nick's home that I've been to once. I'll never forget that. And so I believe I would have seen them. And I think there's more in my area, and I would love to know the reason why. Yeah, is it something with
Are they migrating?
their
Like
habitat? Yeah.
we'll
Were
have
they
to
just
bring my
frisky, because in Alaska, they're like more of a burden than seagulls. Like
Oh, yeah.
they're like just like a pest. And
Yeah.
it's like that's so my mind can't handle that because they're so majestic and so cool here.
We'll have to bring on my my business partner's daughter to discuss that. She's got her master's in aviary psychiatry.
Oh, dude, you tell me the date and I'll get that title and thumbnail and that would be a dream. And I know these people in the chat, they would love that discussion. That's the epitome.
We actually have to have her on. Amanda's really cool. And she went to school at Texas A&M, and she basically studies the psychology behind migratory birds. And people are like, what the hell are you going to do with that? Well, what she does is she's graduated now, and her first employment was working for a large turkey farm to try to reduce the number of turkey altercations that lead to significant enough losses to pay someone a six-figure salary to figure out how to lessen it.
Now, who are these? I think I know the answer, but who are these altercations with?
Male turkeys.
Oh no, I thought it would have
Other
been
turkeys.
a predator.
No, they gang up when they're in the wild, they will territorially kill each other. They'll fight whoever wins. It's like the Highlander, there can only be one.
The mate,
And
yeah.
you either say, okay, sorry, I'm going to do whatever you tell me to do, and I'm going to go stand over there. In the obvious sign of I'm not as cool as you, or I'm going to challenge you, and any fight worth winning is also worth dying for. So here we are. Now, what happens in captivity in large farms, they don't have territories to defend. So what they do is defend sanctions. And essentially, groups of male turkeys will go find, pick out, and kill other male turkeys, almost like in assassination-like coordination.
Like a gang.
Oh yeah, there is gangs of these turkeys, and so
Whoa.
they try separating them. They end up going in between them. It's like a big problem in the turkey world. Like these turkeys are violent. So she's working to like identify the gene that makes them violent and trying to breed that out of those male turkeys so that as they breed them naturally, they have less fights. So we got to get Amanda on here. Who doesn't want to talk to someone who specializes in reducing turkey violence?
That's I'm 100% serious. Text her, get it all set up. Tell me a Tuesday date, and it's on, because that's so. And she obviously with her degree knows so much more than just turkeys, and will be able to tell us about so many like really cool, interesting stories about these animals.
Oh yeah, I remember when we were talking like way back, and I was like, I don't like birds. Don't trust them. She's like, why? I'm like, they don't have eyebrows. You can't tell what they're thinking. And she's like, well, if you knew what you were talking about, even a little, you would know that birds have 76 pantomimes in their face, and humans only have 20. So very insignificant way to tell what someone's thinking if you want to start there, I guess. And I was like,
mic drop. Yeah, you can't even. You can't even respond to that. Oh man, if you even knew a little bit what you're talking about.
And then she dropped the word pantomime on me like it was the word napkin. Like it was just nothing.
Like, yeah, wow.
Busting out the syllables.
Ken's got a point here. So we have for at least 2 years in the summer, we've had these, and I think you guys got a little bit of it. We had these like storms of like orange skies and the smoke and everything. And it was from the wildfires in Canada.
Yeah.
I wonder if that has pushed some of the bald eagles down.
It could. I mean, If I lived in trees, I would probably get away from wherever they were on fire.
Yeah. Right. You live in those. Yeah.
Like, I'm not
Wow.
just gonna give up and be like, well, I got these 6 of them here, so
Interesting. Now, do you guys see bald eagles in Mass?
yeah, like between here and New Hampshire, they get more and more prevalent as you go north,
Okay.
obviously. Like Mount Washington, you go up there, you're guaranteed you hike up Mount Washington, you're gonna see a bald eagle. Um,
Interesting.
it's they're not, I wouldn't say they're like prevalent near us, but
Okay.
I've definitely seen them. And the bird, I'm so mad that I didn't know as much about your infatuation with birds when you were here because we live across the street from a bird sanctuary. And
Dude.
yeah, so like you go out of our street, you cross the main road, go down past the cemetery, and it's bird sanctuary. And you're not allowed to bring dogs or anything else out there. It's lots of trails. You can walk all through it, all the way from the woods to the ocean. And it's a wildlife sanctuary for birds, and there's a lot of stuff out there.
Dude, any idea of what like kind of species or anything?
Oh, lots of falcons, and they have tons of those like up high nests for them. But if you look at Webster's Wilderness is the name of the sanctuary, and it's owned by I think it's run by the Mass Audubon Society. Let's see, species, because there is some stuff out there, man. It is super cool, and it's all boardwalks. And you got like there's this one little cropping of cherry trees, and it's literally like a forest of cherry trees. So it's
Interesting.
578 acres. It's owned by the Audubon. Features habitats and wildlife. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so it's like they got purple marlins. Oh yeah, a colony of purple martins. They got multiple species of hawks, oh, and then they have harriers and herons that when it gets to be dusk, go out there and pick up mice and voles and stuff from the field. And you can literally like sit there on a bench and just watch these birds just hunt.
Oh, stop it.
So cool. Let's
That's
go there next time you're here.
Yes, that's a dream of mine. To the point, I'm seeing if I can find any of the content here. 2 years ago, I think it was, for my birthday, Sam got me a Falconeer class. We had to drive down, not had to, we got the opportunity to. We got to drive down to Columbus, and I did a full Falconeer class where I got to learn about them. I got to throw the chicken head. I got to hold it. I got to do all the stuff. I got to use it had every type of falcon you can imagine, and hawk. I got to do it with a owl. It
Those
was
things weigh like 20 pounds, right?
Oh yeah, massive.
Like you hold your arm out. Like my parents had macaws and cockatoos growing up, and they're not nearly as dense of a bird as like a a falcon or something like that.
Yeah, they're heavy and very scary. It's very intimidating to hold a little chicken head and allow this like taloned out thing to come just snatch you. You got the big leather mitt on, which helps.
That's like when you're shark diving, you have a cage. Like that still scares the crap out of you.
Still, right? Your instincts are going to kick in.
That is an apex predator.
Yes.
On your arm, and you're holding its food.
It was so good. Yep, so dang good. So yes, and Chris, appreciate that, man. He says, I like how this stream is just free flowing today.
Dude, this is awesome, and I love it, and to the point where like, I almost think. I was thinking about this the other day, actually. This is, again, one of those things where like I come up with terrible ideas in front of you guys. And Dan, I can sometimes see the joy and sometimes see the pain developing. And so like, what if we did that? Where like, instead of doing topic, rando one, what if our stream, we did kind of cover what we wanted to basic cover over 100 episodes. And now we do like one, then one. Like we have a topic and then we just have a free flowing. Where is it taking us? What's everybody doing? It's cold outside. Let's talk about how it sucks. Like whatever it might be. I think we need to start because these are fun.
Yeah, they are fun, and I know people enjoy them. I think that's done. I think that is 100% what it's going to be when things come up that are business or company related that we want to get releases out and talk about it. We do it, and then other than that, we just flow. And do we talk about accents for a half an hour and hawks for another? Yeah. Why? Because I think everybody has this need to learn about other cultures and other topics and other things that you're not as familiar or passionate about. And then when you hear information about other people and their knowledge of it and their passion of it, it's just fun. You know,
It is fun.
it's just good content. It's like the old classic TV shows when they would follow people that had random addictions and random things. It's like you just liked learning about people. That was all it really was.
Yeah, it's because everyone's a little introspective on themselves. So I think people are naturally like always trying to compare the weird stuff that happens in your head to like what you think is the normal stuff that happens in someone else's. And then you discover we're all nuts.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, I finally found it. So here's like me with the owl. Look at one of the
That
falcons.
is a good looking animal. And that falcon's super cool looking too.
Oh yeah. And yeah, look at me making eye contact. And then this is me right
get
here.
it, guys. He didn't get it. I know everyone's laughing, but Dan didn't catch it.
What'd you say? You
said, wow, that's a good looking animal. I'm like, and wow, look at that falcon too.
Ah, yeah. No, I didn't get that part. All right, so here's him. Oh yeah. Here's me holding this thing. Look at this bad boy. I think I go slow motion with it. Look at how cool that is.
Dear God. And that's when the guy's like, okay, when he comes at you, do not flinch, do not duck, do not move, because then he's going to have to adjust and then he might miss. And that's when you're in trouble.
Yep. And I get to send him off and everything. This was and again, it was a real like falconeer class. Look at, see ya. Send him over to that pole. How cool is that? And just beautiful, beautiful animals.
You know how everyone talks about like if the apocalypse happens or like World War III happens and like turns us into a third world country or whatever, they're always like, and I've said it before too, where they're like, well, you better have a skill, like you better know how to do this or do that. Like it's good to have a skill. Imagine standing around in the circle and someone's like, I know how to make pretty decent sourdough. And another guy's like, well, my dad was a cobbler and sometimes I watched. I could probably learn how to make shoes. And then there's a guy kind of just sitting there smoking a something. And he's like, I know how to train falcons. And they're like, all right, you go do that. No, that's your job. You're the falcon guy.
You're in. Yeah, you got a job.
You're in.
Right. We go to war and falcons start raining down on you. Like, God, what the heck?
They're like carrying little vats of like kerosene on fire, like Mojave cocktailing your enemies.
Now we're talking.
Yes, all right. Good. Turn them into little murder machines.
Somehow we're in overtime.
No, stop it. No, we're not.
It's after 2:00 of accents and world travels and vehicles and lawn mowing and birds of prey and history interwoven into it. Grammar. Oh, man. Oh, hey, look. And so there's a buddy of mine, Randy from Michigan. And he said, I didn't know that was your first time, Randy. He said, this is my first time listening in. I loved it. Made time at work go faster. Thank you so much. Dude, that's what I like to hear right there, man.
Hell yeah.
That's so cool. That's exactly why we do this.
And Jill, this is what happens when Dan and I get together. She's like, they might have even forgotten that we're all listening.
So I will say, when we first started talking, you were so loose and so free. I literally thought, I was like, I don't know if Nick knows we're live streaming right now when you were talking. And it was nothing bad, but Jill, that's so funny. I was like, it's just, if you guys could hear our conversations, this is just what we do.
It is. And you know, it's so funny that you say that, dude. I know we're over, but I'll leave everyone with this.
Yeah.
I think I actually had a little boost of confidence in that regard lately. I've been watching a lot of Kill Tony, and I'm sitting there with it on in the background earlier, and he said something to a guy. It wasn't one of his critiques. He was actually complimenting this guy of something that made him much better than the guy before him. And he's like, wow. He's like, you're so present. He's like, nothing about what you're doing is pre-done and obtuse for where you're placing it. He's like, you kind of have a guideline and you kind of roll with what's happening in the room around you. And he's like, you're so present. You're so relevant. He's like, I could just listen and talk to you all day. In fact, why don't you come on our podcast later this week, Secret Show? And he invites him on the Secret Show. And I'm like,
dude, that was
present.
Just within the last like 2 or 3 weeks. I knew exactly what you were going to say. I'm so happy you went there because it was like a girl before and she was trying to be funny in her interview responses. She was trying to put on a show. She was trying to put on an act. And he's
you
like,
don't
no,
do that
just
with Tony.
be here, be vulnerable, be honest, be real.
This is an interview. This isn't part of your act.
Yes. And then the next guy came up and was just real and honest and you feel it, you love it. And that is what I love about this show. It's what I love about like my other streams. We just we have things that we want to talk about and address, as everyone wants to know. People want to know the new stuff with Dr. Nix. They want to know what's going on with the company, but we also just strive for human connection and human relations, and this is how we do it. And what better way to do it than have a conversation like we would with nobody else in the room?
That's what you do.
Yeah, that's
Like
what you
that's
do.
what I do. That's what you do. And like I remember presenting with someone on stage one time years ago, and they were like, it was the funniest response ever. They were like, "Man, when you went off script in that presentation, I didn't know what to do." And I was like, "Script?" I literally looked at him. I was like, "There was a script?" And he's like, "Well, it's in the notes at the bottom of each slide." I'm like, "No, you put those things up and you point at them and you talk about what's there and you go back and forth with the people in the audience when they start giving you weird looks or questions or start drinking water inappropriately." And you're like, and he's like, "Oh, I read that word for word." And I'm like, "And I'll be doing this in 10 years and you won't."
And that's why when you see YouTube videos and people looking down at their notes or reading a computer, it just doesn't feel the same. And man, I just love it. Now, final thing on this, we'll have to do, I'm going to find a way, in a creative way we can do this, but you guys have to get behind the scenes of Nick and I problem solving. From time to time, a problem will come up. We don't know the solution. Neither of us do. And we just go, and eventually somebody says something, then the other person goes, "Nope, hold up, that," and then they add to it, and then the other
no
person,
one's being interrupted. No one's being thrown off course. It is literally like you'll be like immersed into it. I'll be like, hold on, don't click that. Go back. Oh, yep, nope, that one right there.
and then I take it. I'm like, oh, and then we go back and forth. It's so. I've never worked with anybody like that. I've never had conversations like that. It's the craziest thing. Because if you guys like the way we talk about random stuff, I think you'd be blown away at the problem solving one. And it's efficient. We don't. Yeah, we're
on
gonna
like
make it
the
happen.
marketing side of like Dr. Nix even, and on like the online commerce side of it. As a technologist, I don't often find myself reaching out to non-technologists to run through anything that involves something technology related. But 100% of the time, I tell Dan, more likely, I actually skip part of the story. The way it goes is Dan says, "Have you done this yet?" And I say, "No, I haven't," because I ran into a problem. And then eventually, here's the good part, is I'll say, "You just want to get on a screen share? I'll run through what I'm doing with you really quick and kind of see where I'm getting hung up." And we do that back and forth now. And like, there has not been one of those that's happened that remained unsolved at the end of that call.
Better. It's like we open a new chapter, and it's like we didn't even realize this could be something more.
We like improve it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Hell
Crazy.
yeah.
All right, guys, stop. You're getting us going. We're over time. Mom's going to get mad. All right. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We will be back 1 p.m. Eastern. Oh, he's got to eat. He literally flew in. To tell you guys about it. I got to stop this. But
we didn't even talk about the trip. We didn't talk about flying. We didn't talk about how my sandwich is sitting here.
We were on the phone as he was getting ready to come up to the stream, as I'm like counting down the minutes and stuff. Like, that's how close we are with that stuff. Oh, man. All right.
I'm in the car. He's firing the stream up. It's hilarious.
That's how we do. But we will be here, guys, 1 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday. Every Tuesday, we're 104 episodes in a row. We value this. I hope you guys enjoy it. Getting a compliment like it made your work go faster or it helped you enjoy your lunch break is quite literally what Nick and I say as our goals. Quite literally.
So, Randy, what you're saying we should do is that Dan and I should just split screen Twitch all day.
That could work. Just see what we do.
Yeah.
There might be some dead air and downtime, but you'll see like frantic face movements and stuff like that.
There might be some things blurred out.
Yeah, or some, audio.
Maintain monetization, of course.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. Sometimes in the day, you're going to have a naked moment. I mean, you're just going to, it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. That's life. That
when
is
in Rome.
That is life. My work day will be much better. You might be on to some. Yeah. Okay. All right, guys. For real, we got to go. All right. My name's Dan. I appreciate you guys so gosh dang much. Nick, final words for our friends out there.
I'll keep it brief. I'm gonna go eat a sandwich. Okay, that's what I'm doing. If you guys would like to join me, I'll be on Twitch, Master Phelps at Twitch, and all the things on channels. And of course, come visit me here on YouTube next Tuesday, 1 o'clock, same channel. Love you guys.
Love you.